Today, I'm going to be reading a psychological thriller story about luxury, betrayal, and a hotel room that was never meant to keep its guests safe. One family checked in, only one survived. This story is found on the subreddit No Sleep and was created by user Guy Ox. My family drowned in an underwater hotel. Growing up an orphan is as hard a life as people think it is. Between the lack of financial resources and familial warmth, it's a difficult childhood. But it wasn't always like that for me. In fact, it used to be the polar opposite. I used to have a happy and well-off life with a loving family. We would even regularly go on vacations to luxurious foreign locations to see the world. Whether it was surfing on the shores of Hawaii or skiing on the slopes of Switzerland, my family always wanted to provide me and my siblings with these great experiences. They were in the position to do so. Both my father and mother were important government diplomats with roles constantly sending them across the world. So it made sense that opportunities to recuperate abroad came alongside that. Not to mention the money they earned. I didn't appreciate how extravagant all these trips were at the time, but I certainly do now. It was one of these vacations abroad, ironically, which would cost me my decadent family life and my entire family. Mother, father, brother, and sister, gone. I was excited as I normally was when my family told me about the trip. This time, I was also intrigued. Not only would we be staying at a picturesque beach resort in the Maldives, but it would be in a very special, rare and new kind of hotel suite. An underwater hotel. I'd vaguely recalled seeing a tour video from guests visiting one such hotel online. It looked so pretty and mesmerizing, like a magical glass room on the ocean floor. It had also looked intimidating to my child mind, like the ocean could envelop you from all sides. All it would take was the glass breaking to instantly drown you. Even my older siblings were a bit frightened, but my parents reassured us. For the amount of money it cost guests, of course it would be safe. So, the day after my school term ended, we departed, flying first class across the Atlantic to the Maldives for a 2-week stay. Driving to the airport that day, I had no idea that I was leaving my normal family life behind forever, and I would be the only one to return. Touching down on the tiny runway in our smaller connecting plane, I was struck by how exclusive the vacation felt. These islands were as far away from the rest of the world as they were vibrant. The luxury resort was as beautiful as I'd imagined, framed by picture palm trees and sleek wooden buildings. And that was before I even saw the hotel rooms. The real draw of the resort was the ocean villas, rising out of the coastal water itself and connected by an aesthetically winding boardwalk. It was almost like a driveway for a neighborhood who lived in the sea. While the porters wheeled our bags across it, I looked down at the crystal clear water beneath and marveled at the rippling sea floor. My parents had had some concerns over the safety of children, especially one of my age, of 9, staying in a villa directly over the water. If I woke up in the middle of the night and stumbled outside, sleepwalking or restless, it would be a drowning hazard. As I wasn't the wandering type, they ultimately dismissed this concern. They had no awareness of the irony that I would be the only one of us not to drown. We checked into the spacious upper level of our villa and took in the beautiful but ordinary interiors. Then, finally, we went downstairs into the underwater sleeping quarters. It comprised 2 rooms connected by a small walkway, and the entire space was enclosed by that transparent domed glass from the advertisements. It was breathtaking. A tropical-themed hotel room below the surface of the water, with glass walls displaying the sea life beneath the water. The light shining down cast a blue glow over our beds, making it feel like a combination of a villa and an aquarium. Even when we retired to our rooms at the end of the day, the ocean experience never had to end. For many who stayed at these rooms at the Lagoon's Paradise Resort, it never would. Overflowing with excitement, I ran to the windows and gawped at the fishes swimming past while my older siblings snapped pictures. Parrotfish, surgeonfish, butterflyfish. A world of tropical sea creatures strolled past and over the window like they were our neighbors, providing a panorama view of their dazzling colors. Our rooms were positioned completely out from underneath the villa. The only structures above us that weren't transparent were the staircase and a dumbwaiter shaft with a tray elevator. This place was so fancy, we wouldn't even have to leave this aquatic heaven to get our room service meals. Wow, this is spectacular. But I wonder how strong this glass really is, Mom wondered lightly, keeping any tone of worry out of her voice. Don't worry, dear. Dad jumped in to reassure her, gently knocking the clear wall with his knuckles. These windows are meant to be as thick as airplane windows. They're apparently made from the same material. It's probably stronger than the windows on the plane we flew here on. This was enough to reassure Mom and the rest of us. When I bounced on the bed, as I always did in hotels, my parents told me off, but specified it was because I could hurt my head, not because the ceiling would crack. The next few days at the resort were magical, with my family enjoying a variety of fun vacation activities such as snorkeling, paragliding, and jet skiing. It was better than any other holiday I'd been on, flashier and more energetic. A dream holiday for a young boy. In hindsight, there were already suspicious things happening around me under the sunny facade. During our meals in the open-air dining room, I would occasionally notice staff members of the hotel whispering to each other and pointing in our direction. I figured that was a normal thing for waiters to do, to give guests the best service. On the beach, in those spare moments where we had time to sunbathe, local vendors would occasionally stop to offer us various good luck charms. This was to be expected, except that they would insist on us keeping their tchotchkes even before my family paid them. Again, I thought this was just people being nice, and I was all too happy to collect these. Last but not least was that moment when I peeked over the resort desk counter while we were waiting to ask the manager about something. Only I saw the map with all the villas in the resort. Just as the manager popped behind the desk, I located our room on it. It was one of the few with a red X on it. Strange. Maybe X meant special treatment? It wasn't all weird behavior from the staff, at least. A poolside bartender taught me a cool trick to open my orange soda bottle with a teaspoon when I couldn't find my dad's bottle opener. Just wedge the thin side here, he said, pressing the curved part of the spoon in the bottle cap, and push down. With ease, the young man pried the seemingly immovable cap off and handed the bottle back to my awestruck self. I couldn't wait to show my friends how to do this trick that was more valuable than a lame souvenir. As we rolled into the second week of the vacation and the itinerary became more and more involved, none of my family seemed to notice the strange occurrences, or if they did, they were too distracted and tired to care. It seemed that the hotel was intent on keeping us busier with things to wear us out each day. With just a few nights left of our trip, we had our most action-packed day yet. First being sent hiking across the nearby thick jungle, then ziplining over the canopy in a whirl of green, and finally kayaking our way between islands back to the hotel. We returned to our room that evening after dinner, thoroughly exhausted but satisfied with how much we gotten to experience the tropical locale. The novelty of our blue subterranean ocean room had almost worn off at this point. When the light cyan beyond the glass darkened to an inky black with the sunset, you couldn't make out the sea life anymore. Climbing into bed that night, I remember looking up at the night-colored dome above and feeling safe and warm. A cozy, modern, waterproof submarine to recharge in. That was the moment it happened. Suddenly, the door to the staircase exit bolted itself shut. I heard a beep and click, the same kind you hear when you unlock a door with a key card, sound from across the room. My parents, who had been reading by lamplight, instantly got up to go investigate. Before they can even reach the door, however, more noises sounded. This time they were from a hatch opening up in the wall side panel near the staircase, one of the only places not covered in glass besides the floor. "What on earth is that?" my father started saying. At once, a torrent of seawater began gushing into the rooms from a large pipe behind the hole. From my bed, I blinked at what I saw in disbelief, part of me thinking I was still dreaming. When my parents started pounding on the door to no avail, and my older siblings started screaming, that's when the fear truly kicked in. This unfloodable hotel was really flooding with us inside it. The explosion of water from the pipe quickly spanned across the floor of the room, reaching every corner of it. Once it had soaked all of our bedding, the water level began to steadily rise. Quint and Kay were petrified, banging on the glass wall and ceiling of the room, as if breaking it would do anything but flood the room faster. Alas, the glass truly was as strong as it had been described to us, in this case, entombing us in this watery grave. As soon as the room was half full, we began treading water like I had done throughout the holiday in the pool and the sea. "Keep swimming, sweethearts," my mom shrieked between gasps as she tried to pull us all close and above water. "There's gotta be a way out of here," my dad roared before diving into the water. He resurfaced, and then again, and again. There seemingly wasn't. By this point, Kay was crying, the salt in her tears matching the salt of the seawater splashing against all our eyes. Next to her, Quint, normally not the type to feel any cold, shivered uncontrollably in the chilly tropical water. Pressed up against the glass, I recall somehow glimpsing a grayish fish outside despite the darkness of the ocean exterior. The random fish paused to gaze at our panicking splashing before swimming past. In that moment, I felt overwhelmingly jealous of its freedom. It was like we were the ones on display in an aquarium, trapped. As the water finally reached the top of the dome, we began to gasp desperately for our last breaths of air, and then we were fully underwater, holding our breath, waiting to drown. My family's last words had already been spoken. I don't even remember them. There had been no point wasting oxygen screaming. What neighbors would hear us down here? Not even a dumb waiter could. Dumb waiter. Instantly, the idea took hold in my mind. I didn't waste a second. I spun around, kicked against the ceiling of the dome, and dove down to the stairs. There was no prying that door open. My dad had tried with all his efforts already, but the dumbwaiter shaft was right next to it. My suspicions that it clamped shut with the door were confirmed when I tried opening it. But that's what my lucky tool, which I grabbed on my dive down, was for. Using the narrowest edge of a spoon, I wedged the utensil under the door of the dumbwaiter and applied leverage like the bartender had shown me. The spoon could have bent, with me drowning from exertion. But, miraculously, the little square door creaked open in the dim water. Heart pounding, lungs aching, eyes stinging, I squeezed my body into the narrow shaft. Then I kicked like heck upwards, hoping the tray elevator wouldn't be blocking my path to air. Instead, I surfaced with a deep gulp of air in the pitch black shaft. For half a minute, the water seemed to continue rising, but then it stopped, relief flooding my bobbing, cramped body. And then I remembered my family was still down there. I tried to look down into the water, tried to call out for them, but I already knew the devastating truth. Even if they'd seen where I swam, there was no way they could have followed me into the narrow, dumbwaiter shaft. I barely fit as it was. I didn't have enough room to dive back down looking for them. I had many hours to cry that night while I waited in the watery square tube. When dawn came, I was finally rescued by an elderly couple staying at the hotel who happened to be wandering past my family's villa. They heard my echoing cries and, with great difficulty, extracted me from the above-ground side of the dumbwaiter. To this day, I'm grateful I was found by them instead of hotel staff. Who knows if lagoons would have finished what they started? I was flown home a few days later, after a hushed-up local police investigation, where the official cause of death for my family was listed as being lost at sea during a snorkeling trip. No one listened to me, no matter how much I tried to tell them about the inescapable flooding suite. Our cameras and belongings were vanished by the hotel. They told me it was grief, trauma, and a child's imagination. Only after I got back to my family home and went through my parents' possession did it click to me. They'd been sent an invitation to the resort at a discounted rate. My diplomat parents were guests there, but they weren't the clients being serviced. They'd been the victims of a conspiracy to assassinate them. My siblings and I were collateral damage. And the hotel, with their unbelievable water tombs, had been paid off to do this to countless other guests. I did eventually move on with my life, a much poorer life, being bounced around destitute guardians while my inheritance stayed locked away. But I'm an adult now. I have access to those funds, a great journalism job, and despite all my trauma, a loving wife who I just married. Still, I can't let go of the injustice of what happened to my family. The world needs to know about what the Lagoons Paradise Resort has done. Few will believe what I've written here, but with an incognito investigation and some real evidence, I can get this story published. That's why I've taken my wife's last name and booked us the trip of a lifetime. Maybe I'm crazy to do this. Maybe anyone would be. But I know exactly where we're going for our honeymoon. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe, and comment down below what you think of the story. And comment any other story you'd like me to retell in the future. Until next video, keep it queasy.